Opinions expressed on the internet would be censored.
We are live. We are live. This is real. Welcome back to Unauthorized Opinions, UOPod.com. Like, share, subscribe.
It's pure propaganda and it's super cringe, by the way.
I literally went to the polls with nothing in mind. I saw a can of orange soda in the parking lot. And I was like, yeah, there we go. An unopened can of orange soda just chilling in the parking lot. I was like, yeah, I got to vote for Trump, dude.
Your podcast sucks. It's mental, mate. It's absolutely mental.
I'll be honest, I thought it was kind of offensive when you talk so much about the Loch Ness Monster.
Political climate.
And Andrew, treat yourself, okay? Especially if you start, I don't know, getting in good with homeless people.
Unauthorized Opinions, streaming everywhere at uopod.com. Cockle-doodly-doodly-doo, man. Oh my goodness, we're back, everybody. It feels like it's been ages, been a millennia, it's been a fortnight, it's been an eclipse, an entire solar eclipse has happened, due to climate change. And this has caused a problem, a rift in society where, eclipses, whether solar or lunar or climate-wise, have come and gone over the years. Floods, solar eclipses. We've even went through Planet X, Nibiru colliding with Earth, 2012 and all of that. And all of a sudden, a solar eclipse became a 2-week news cycle. Something the news cycle could talk about that wasn't Joe Biden. All of a sudden, people didn't notice that they weren't showing the president anymore. And all of a sudden, the eclipse became a thing. It became a thing where we were caring weeks in advance about a solar eclipse, something that most of us couldn't see from our homes because of possibly climate change, but mostly due to clouds. It became a monumental event to distract you from once again. But we've got, I don't even know if we can say wars on YouTube anymore, which will stand for Wario, for Mario and Luigi. But the focus today will not be on eclipses. It will not be on President Biden. But it will be on, you could call it the war on women. But really it's a war on attractiveness. It's the war of ugliness. And the stories we have for you today are just really people demanding that women, give up their spots to unattractive men, that women be ugly, that we need more ugly women in everything. If you're an attractive woman, you can't say anything that disagrees with the mainstream media because you're not ugly. Board games need to be ugly. Video games need to be ugly. And, of course, even athletes need to be ugly. And we're going to get into this. And the first story is going to come by way of Sweden. Now, Sweden, if you're not familiar with them, they have hockey. They have... I believe they have fish. Herring is something. Pickled herring might be something they sell in Sweden. They, hockey. But, Sweden was always seen as like a nice place, a very friendly place in the Nordic countries in Scandinavia. And then they were really one of the first countries to do the mass migration thing, and they paid for that a little bit. But they were also one of the countries that did a lot of gender equality. I believe they were the first and biggest ones to be like, we need to push for 50-50 representation of men and women in the job market, and certain jobs only, of course, the ones that didn't involve going in the sewers and in skyscrapers and everything like that. And then they found out that it wasn't all it cracked up to be. And according to Jordan Peterson, it actually drove the sexes further apart in terms of what they're doing for a living. Companies, especially not video game companies, they are still pushing forward with this. And if you're familiar with this channel and familiar with myself and what I've been talking about lately, is this attack on video games because it is a male-centric culture, and there's been all these woke people involved in it. And they really, at the crux of it, what it comes down to is they want, everything to be ugly. The female characters need to be ugly. Of course, the male characters need not be ugly. But what we're going to see here in a second is that this stuff has not been lost. In Sweden, they are not past, everything must be equal. They're not past trans rights yet. I mean, the rest of the world is there, but they're still so hardcore about it that this is the first thing that comes to their mind when they think video games. Video games. When I think video games, I think of trans rights and women's rights. That's what it comes down to. So this company called Massive Entertainment, who is out of Sweden, they had their International Women's Day event. Why you have that at a video game company, even though there's clearly tons of women that work there, is beyond me. But Massive Entertainment is a subsidiary of Ubisoft, which of course is from Montreal, Canada, the wienery guy, capital of the world, let's say, Montreal. I'm French. Half of my family is from Quebec. There's nothing more wussy than a guy from Quebec, okay? My father will tell you that. I'll tell you that. That should be enough for you, but it's fact. Take my truth as fact. So they had an International Women's Day celebration for some reason at a video game company, and they're the ones making a new Star Wars game. So they've been handed over this mantle of Star Wars. It's probably shaped like Yoda, to make a new Star Wars game. Why you would get a Swedish company to make a Star Wars game, I don't know. But Disney gave this company Star Wars. And they had an International Women's Day event. And they all decided to pose with the equal sign. Each for equal. Whenever there's a hashtag that's done by a foreign company and tries to, like a non-native English-speaking company, they always mess up, like, each for equal. What is, like, okay, we're all equal? I don't know. Something better than that needed to be come up with, but they all answered this question, what equality means to me. And right away we get into the silliness. Not having to do other people's emotional labor. Is that what equality, if you were to look up equality in the dictionary, or even online, is there any thought that this would be one of the definitions? Or did somebody just come up with this 30 minutes ago? People's emotional labor. Next guy looks like a very cool guy. He's got arm tattoos. He wants to renounce all forms of oppression. When I think of video games and the video game industry, and I asked a guy what equality means to him, and he says renouncing all forms of oppression, I would think that the woman taking a photo of him, the person taking a photo of him would have to be a woman. In order for a guy to be, say, renouncing all forms of oppression, there would have to be a woman behind the camera. She's possibly wielding a knife at him, threatening him because he's a small Swedish guy, as you can see, saying, answer this correctly or else it's over for you. And no woman at this office will ever date you again. Because let's be honest, the liberals all date within their office. They can't help it. And this will be the end of your career if you don't answer this properly. So renouncing all forms of oppression is what equality means to him. Very cool. Now, they weren't all bad. I mean, a lot of them were sort of down the middle. This guy, I don't think he's ever moved his arms in this manner before. He says equality means equality of opportunities. Fair. This woman says, this is another weird one. For me, equality is providing cerebral opportunities to women where they can be mother and CEO at the same time, and no one question, I'm guessing that's broken English, and no one question about how they manage all. That seems strange to me. That you think equality means that you can have time for two life-consuming things. I can be the CEO of a company, and I can also be an NBA player. Being a full-time mother is a full-time thing. Just like being a father, you can't be a stay-at-home dad and also be leading a company. So the idea that just because a woman wants to be like a full-time mother and spend all this time with her kids, and she can't do that at the same time while being a CEO, that's not inequality. That's just having to make a choice. I can't spend all my days playing video games and then be like, oh, I also should be able to be the CEO of, an accounting firm, and you can't question that. And as this lovely young lady says, no one question about how they can manage all. This is a long one. I don't know if this is two people, but I don't know why they needed to be quoted together. As you can see, this is at a video game event. This says Tom Clancy's The Division 2 Warlords of New York. I don't know if they just decided to put this in front of a photo of a video game, but it seems to me like they were at a video game event, and they said, what's the most important thing that Tom Clancy wanted to advance about, military tactics and secret and covert operations? He said equality. That's a direct quote from Tom Clancy. Equality to me is appreciating that we all are different, yet the same, okay? That everyone has the same opportunities regardless. That's a good one. Smooth, prefer crunchy or smooth peanut butter. This guy is funny. Equality means having different experiences that everyone respects as valid and important. Now, that doesn't make much sense either, does it? Equality means having different experiences that everyone respects as valid and important. If I come to you, and I'll use an accounting firm, again, as an example, and we're just talking off the top of the dome here. If I come to you at an accounting firm and I say, in my experience, fluffy dogs are better for me than long-haired dogs. Like the big curly dogs really jive better with my allergies during allergy season. I don't sneeze enough as when I'm around long-haired dogs. And then the second guy says, you know what, I think 30% on this is better than 25%. You don't usually go, hey, I respect your opinion on dogs is valid and important, and just because you have a completely stupid opinion about this, I can't say that that's bad. That's not equality. That's just being psychotic. You can't just say all opinions and experiences are the same and valid. I went to war. My friend got shot. I watched him die in the fields of Iraq. Okay, you might have a valid point there. And then another guy says, hey, I went outside and I, accidentally ran over a worm with my lawnmower. These are not equal and important, life experiences that are to be respected equally. There are varying degrees of what should be respected. There are varying degrees of what's important depending on the situation. And if we're talking about a video game company, which we're having here, nobody cares what your experience is. What the problem here is how do we fix this game and how do we make it a good game? We don't have to say because Sally or Jimmy is black, white, or yellow that their experience is important here and the same. If somebody was racist to you when you're growing up, which of course is what they're talking about, you can try to claim this is not what they're saying, but when you say equality means having different experiences that everyone respects as valid and important, they're talking about somebody complaining about sexism or racism, and you have to believe and reward that person for that in order to work at this video game company in some way, shape, or form. That's what it means. We all know that's what it means. It's just that this person isn't brave enough to come out and say that, so they say what they think is the safer thing. Now, this guy has the best answer. What equality means to him is, we are here to work, and if anything, we should judge by our competences, not by the way we look. Coincidence that he's holding a drink in his hand that he didn't want to put down. It looks like he was still walking in one direction when he had this photo taken. I think this guy wins the day. That's just me. Feeling safe without anxiety and fear of being judged. Now, that's just like a millennial and down thing. Anyone born really before 1990 would not say that it's unfair that I have to feel anxiety or be judged. Everyone's judging each other all the time. Like, you're looking at this photo, you're judging this woman's entire being. You're wondering how much her watch costs. How much her wig costs. Everyone's judging everyone at all times. That's an unrealistic thing for an adult. We've got some women here who talk about actual equality. You can see the pain in her eyes having to do this, but she's like, I want to keep my job. She says equality means you're allowed to be yourself regardless of gender and ethnicity. These are good answers. Equality for me is the opportunity to be who you are, who you love, or how you identify. We're getting a little wishy-washy at the end. We're all equal. We're all human. These guys in their bubble jackets. It's cold. It's in Sweden. Same playing field. Same opportunities regardless. I like that too. This woman has a few cats. Acceptance and appreciation of everyone. Decent answer. It's in the word. That guy is edgy and cool. Everyone to be at their best. That doesn't make sense. But I want to go down to, having representation in our game. This is a bad one. We shouldn't skip this one. Notice that this woman is saying baby. Her shirt says baby. It's outside. It's hard for you to see probably on here, but it says baby. It's cold outside. The cold part is just taken off of the shirt. They've extracted the letters for cold off of the shirt. Why, you ask? Because she's making a cultural statement that only a loser would appreciate, in the sense that I've removed this word, this sexist word from the song from 1942, baby, it's outside. Isn't it funny how my shirt just leaves out the context of the song? She says, having representation in our games, written and created by people from the communities we represent, that is huge. Now, you might be very confused by that, given that they're working on a Star Wars game. Do we have to have Wookiees working on this game? Do we have to have little people? Are there even little people in Star Wars? Yes, the people on the sand planet. I forget what they're called. Aliens. We need aliens. We need Jedis. This is a world? The world you live in is fantasy based, and it's impossible to say that you're going to have these people from these communities work in these games. Are games written and created by people from the communities we represent? That doesn't make any sense. I don't expect you to think it makes sense. Everyone should be equal to be free. That looks like Amy Schumer did a few drugs, but we're going to go down to, where is he? See, it's not all bad, but this is the guy, and you can see it in his eyes, right? He's the guy who heard this, and he said, this is my time to prove to all the women in the office how much of a good person I am. Equality means to me, he says, and interesting how none of their names are on this, but he says, equality means that all people, regardless of their birth or background, deserve the same respect and opportunity. For some, this will mean being provided aid so that they may aspire to rise above social, mental, or physical friction which might otherwise prevent them from succeeding. So he gets into social welfare programs pretty quickly for a guy from a video game company. We're all on this boat together, and we don't have long on this ride. He read that somewhere. He read that on a tattoo while he was sitting on the bus. It was next to a dream catcher tattoo on the back of the neck of a girl who had just gotten back from Bali. We're all on this boat together, and we don't have long on this ride. Be kind. Be weird. Be free. Trans rights are human rights. It's a very strange... It's like he prepared this for weeks, that he knew this was going to happen, and he thought, I'm going to give this my best, the best shot that I can, and trans rights or human rights are that's what's going to set me over the edge. That's what's going to make everybody like me here. It doesn't matter what gender, everyone can do the same things. That's obviously not true, but these are the people, 60% of them give terrible answers, and these are the people making a new Star Wars games. And you may be thinking, Andrew, that is, and we do a lot of that, Andrew, we want to question ourselves, and that's a serious point. We want to question ourselves. We don't have all the answers here. So we want to say, what would be a critique of that point you just made? What's the other side of the argument, which a lot of people don't do, but the other side of that argument would be, this is a one-off thing. There was a few good answers in there, one really good answer. Maybe there's still hope for this company. Maybe the Star Wars game won't be ruined. But all you have to do is dig one layer deep. And like most things since 2015, let's say, one layer deep is about all you have to do is peel the onion back that one layer to see what they're doing. And this gaming company is so entrenched in identity politics that it's hard to believe that any game they put out and anything that these people ever say in real life or in a professional setting makes any sense and isn't just crazy progressive mumbo jumbo. As part of their commitments. It's under their page of commitments on their website. Let me go back and show you what I'm referring to. They've got this is the page for their blogs and everything. It's under their commitments. Inside Massive Entertainment. I mean, we can go to their front page, I guess, and just so I can show you. Working at Massive, it's a pride flag. Working at Massive, but they've got a section that refers to their commitments, and I'll find it for you. I don't want you guys to think that I'm joshing you here, or I'm making anything up, or Andrew can't find what he's looking for because he's inept and he's got mental health issues. But we will find it for you. There we go. Our commitments. So on their very first page of our commitments, we have just a banner of pride flags. And you're wondering, what does that have to do with a video game company? I don't know either. I think it's very confusing for a company. And this is what they say: walking with massive pride. For the second year in a row, friends and colleagues from Massive Entertainment walked with pride in the Malmo Pride Parade as a statement about our belief in equal value, rights, and opportunities for everyone. So they set up shop here at a pride parade in Sweden, and they wanted to let everybody know that one of their commitments has to do with pride. So I summarized it here. Participating in Malmo, Sweden's yearly pride parade is listed as a company-wide commitment to the belief that everyone should have the same value, rights, and opportunities no matter who you love and how you identify. This commitment is deeply integrated into the Massive culture. We share the common belief that diverse and inclusive teams have the responsibility to make better games. In our continued support of diversity and inclusivity, we are proud to once again walk with massive pride in the parade. So, as a point of a social commitment at a video game company, they're saying we have to go to pride parades every year. If we don't go to pride parades, how are you going to know if we're making a good video game? Better yet, how are you going to know if our video game is going to be good if we don't talk about climate change? And this is very weird, again, for a video game company. They have partnered with 40 video game companies in Scandinavia that say they all have to make climate change an issue. And it makes you wonder, what do these people actually do? What does anyone actually do at a video game company to make this an issue, to make their company more environmentally sustainable? Is this your job? Is this your role as a video game company in society, to make the world more sustainable? You might ask, how would one do that? And it's going to come in the form of political messaging in your video games. There's no real other way around that. This is what video game companies do now, is they say, hey, we know what's best for everybody, and you might just want to play a video game, but that would mean you're stupid if you believe that. We've got to put messaging in there to really re-educate you. And this is the knife being twisted. To really re-educate you, to really let you know what the important things are in life. We need to put that in a video game. And if you want to argue that they're not, we can go ahead and bounce over to what they're doing to the Star Wars game already. And what they're doing already is they're purposely making the female character ugly in it. You might even not even get to that part. You might be thinking, how many female Star Wars, what's the percentage there? Female Star Wars fans that are going to also play the video game, between 5 and 10%, being generous, of course. We all know that when we go see Star Wars, there's tons of women there at the theater. But they're already making the female character in it ugly. This is the real person on the left. I forget her name. We can find it in a moment. Her name is Umberly Gonzalez. She's playing the character Kay Vess. And then all of these people that are seeing this woman, they're just like, okay, that's lovely for a video game character. But then they see what she's supposed to look like scanned in, and she looks like, if you're a Fallout fan, a little bit of a ghoul, a little bit Walking Dead, undead zombie. And they're wondering, how do you go from this woman to this woman. Many people confused by that. And this girl posted on her Instagram page just a trailer where she looks good and ugly. Obviously they're making her be a space lesbian. Nobody can say, hey, this isn't what a space lesbian would look like. They definitely wouldn't wear a jean jacket. They definitely wouldn't have a bad haircut. They definitely wouldn't mess up the jawline. But all these people are talking about how they made her ugly. Why are you not mad? They made you look like Shrek. I just want to say they didn't make you look ugly like how some people say these games took the worst screenshots of the game and say it's bad when with a proper... This is not true, obviously. Trying to figure out why everyone... She's obviously fine. But there's also other comments. Somebody says, I'd be very upset with what they did to your attractiveness to downplay it. I'll be honest, you're a beautiful woman. What they did to your model in the game is an absolute disgrace. Other stuff they said. What's your opinion about making your character or model ugly? Do you feel insulted? I think they probably should. I think this girl, you compare the other games, you compare Stellar Blade, you compare Metal Gear Solid 5, when they take real life women and they just pretty much present them in the game. And then you take a look at this girl, we can look at it again. And they can pretend like they haven't made this girl look different, which they obviously have. Rated Peggy 16. Like that's obviously not how she looks in real life, right? That's obviously... And that's not a bad screenshot. That's like not her making a weird face or anything. That's pretty in line with what it has in there. And then people are comparing it to other things. Obviously, this company has an agenda, and obviously, this is what people are talking about when they say stuff like the gaming industry hates gamers. And it's very hard to argue against it, because if you didn't hate gamers, why would you be doing this to your company? Why do social issues matter to a video game company when we're talking about something that's completely fantasy in Star Wars? Why does this stuff even come up? Why does a video game company need to talk about climate change? Why does it need to talk about equality? Nobody's particularly sure why that happens. And we could jump over to, it's not a video game per se, it's about a video game, Tomb Raider. We all know what Lara Croft is supposed to look like. She looks like Angelina Jolie if you want. She looks like a British girl who travels around the world treasure hunting, right? But there is a board game, an officially licensed board game that came out, and it's called Tomb Raider Shadows of Truth. Now, I don't know how many people play these games, but it's like Dungeons and Dragons, right? It's a book. You get characters. You make decisions. You can see it's already gender and racially diverse on the front case. But this is what this game is like an RPG sort of Dungeons and Dragons scenario where you fantasize everything about it. They talk about how the mystery, and they talk about the game, but what they don't talk about is what's in the instruction manual. And somebody got an excerpt from this instruction manual, and it's about as wild as you can think, right? Basically, what this company is saying, that our game that we have licensed out from Crystal Dynamics is the name of the company that makes that owns the IP for Tomb Raider right now. And they already went back and slapped a trigger warning on their games as they re-released them. But this is what this board game company called Evil Hat Productions said about their own game that they want you to play. I guess it's in the instruction manual, so they can ruin it once you've already bought it. But in their own game, they said raiding and colonialism, and you could tell where this is going just by the subtitle, right? What then is raiding, and how does it mirror colonial practices? Is there anything you'd rather see when you open up an instruction manual than something talking about colonialism? Raiding, as depicted in the original Tomb Raider games and stories, involves going to ancient tombs and historical sites of different civilizations and acquiring artifacts. It operates on the assumption of finders keepers. That grants raiders with the means and drive to claim ownership of artifacts, regardless of whether they have any historical or cultural claim to the treasure. Are you kidding me? Is this like, how insane do you have to be to think you need to justify this? Our game's about stealing, and stealing is wrong. Not only is stealing... Did you know that when the Tomb Raider, when a person who robs graves, did you know when they're stealing from corpses in Egypt and, ancient Chinese tombs and gold from the royal family, did you know that it's not theirs? And did you know, even worse, they don't have any cultural claim to the treasure? But what does that mean? Does that mean that if you're Egyptian, you can go into a pyramid and steal some stuff and it's fine because you have a cultural claim to the treasure or a historical claim to the treasure? This is the weirdest thing. Operates on the assumption of finders keepers. That's what stealing is that I can steal things from wherever I find them. And this wasn't it. It gets worse. Later games released in the franchise, have started the work of addressing this by having Lara Croft acknowledge her past mistakes and try to understand and show respect for the cultures and communities she comes in contact with. Because whenever you're robbing a bank, you want to respect the culture of the bank. Whenever you're robbing the tombs of an Aboriginal culture, you got to have some respect for the culture. We can't just be tipping over tombs and not putting them back into place. She has also worked to reform raider culture and raise the awareness of her peers. So this is all, of course, just, shadowed in somebody who wants to say white people are racist, and, we need to reform stealing. We need to raise the awareness. She needs to just go around on a tour and ask, people who are in the realms of the Italian Job and Ocean's 11, let's reform this culture. Let's get some awareness here about who we're stealing from. Lara no longer decorates her mantle with mythic artifacts. As a raider, she prioritizes seeking out the truth. She's doing DEI work. She's doing re-education into anti-whiteness. She's doing all that stuff. She understands that the stuff that she's stolen because it's cool is not actually what she wants. She just wants to understand cultures when she goes and robs them of their priceless artifacts. Much of this game is inspired by her humanity struggle with heroism and her tenacity. We believe that all three aspects are an important component in creating a game that celebrates history and culture while acknowledging the respect and work required to live in a world wounded by colonialism. God. In this game, we seek to continue that the work alongside Crystal Dynamics. We seek to continue in that work alongside Crystal Dynamics by creating a sandbox for you to tell stories that address colonialist themes in play and create your own stories of respect and support for people in this culture and cultures your seekers encounter. So it's okay that you play this game and steal things in this fantasy realm, but you need to atone for it, and you need to talk about the colonialist themes in this. And what, of course, this means at the end of the day is it's okay that we profit about this, but you need to feel bad about it. Pay for this game, buy this book. Don't just buy it online, please. There's a PDF available, but please buy the hard copy book. We get a lot more money that way, and it's great that you've bought this, and we got a license for this. We didn't just come up with our own game. That would have been too much task. We got the license for it. We paid for that. You're paying for this, and that's all okay, but it's still racist. Our product is racist, but it as long as we repent, even though that's a Catholic thing we don't believe in, as long as we repent, it's okay for us to make money off the racism and the colonialism. You just need to feel bad about it, okay? And this company called, again, Evil Hat Games, they've been in on this. They've been doing this for quite some time where they say, it's okay for us to profit off of something, but let's feel bad about it as well so that we don't completely, lose our jobs. We don't want to do that. They did this about a game called Fate of Cthulhu. Now, if you didn't know, the Fate of Cthulhu is actually based off of one guy. You may have heard the writer's name, H.P. Lovecraft, before, and he is an American writer from a long time ago, obviously, But he came up with like the whole Cthulhu myth and mythos. Howard Phillips Lovecraft, H.P. Lovecraft. He came up with Cthulhu. You know, you see South Park, Cthulhu, you beef with me. And then there's that, what is that, a cheese string commercial? Do we have that all over the world, cheese strings? And somebody says, I give you Cthulhu. I think it's public domain at this point. I could be wrong. He's from Providence, Rhode Island. But anyways, and like any old author, they're just like, this guy's racist. And he could be, I don't know. But here's what they said. Once again, in their own game, it was called Fate of Cthulhu. They said, Fate of Cthulhu is a game that deals with many hard topics. And this is something they put out as well. It's in their book. It's on their website. Another fantasy game. It deals with many hard topics, including mental health, systemic abuses of power, and the death of huge portions of the human species. Make sure all players are aware of these things and give enthusiastic consent before they begin playing. Make sure you're given consent before you play a fantasy game. We wouldn't want to... We can't talk about that on YouTube. Also, Howard Philip Lovecraft was a racist and an anti-Semite, we said in bold. There, we said it. It's like you couldn't have possibly experienced anything to do with this topic without saying this guy was a racist anti-Semite. We could give a litany of examples. We won't. We could. We won't. But they are easy to find with a simple internet search, which means we don't want to actually have to, research what some of these claims are. We don't have to want to explain them. You just got to trust us. And if you look into it and find a different opinion, that's not our fault. We didn't actually say which ones were bad and which ones were good. Look up the name of his cat, for instance. Okay, was it the N-word? I don't know. Could have been. Let's look it up. Cat. Educated, indication. So just going to be the word cat with a space after it. Nothing on the Wikipedia page with the word cat. All right, very good. We'll go back to it. Lovecraft, but this is where it's very strange. Let us turn our attention to why we still find Cthulhu mythos, of which he planted the seed, a fruitful garden to which to find stories. Lovecraft said the oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest fear is fear of the unknown. He filled that void of knowledge with his imagination, creating old ones and forbidden knowledge, strange religions, and fantastical superstitions, threats to society, and suspicion of what science might unlock. We can acknowledge the fear behind his imagination while also re-examining what came out of it. In recent years, many writers, including writers of color, translation, many writers, including races we prefer, have flipped the perspective of some of Lovecraft's most famous stories and made brilliant new works. Excellent examples are The Ballad of Black blah 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 blah. We hope you use them for inspiration just as much as you use Lovecraft's original works. So we're going to call this guy racist and anti-Semitic. But after that, we're going to say, hey, here's a quote that shows how great he is. Here is some of his beliefs that were also, stuff that we're taking from and we're going to use for our own benefit. But also other people have recreated his material with a racial point of view, a racial spin on it, and that's better. And, he's a bad guy, but it's okay. This time, when we do it, it's okay. Because we're making money off it. I mean, let's be honest here. This is another example where they're just like, hey, this guy's racist, he's a piece of shit. Laura Croft's a colonialist. She's a white woman stealing stuff from people. Hey, white lady, we hate you. H.P. Lovecraft, you've been dead for 50 years. We hate you. But we still gotta get paid. I mean, come on now. We got bills to pay. We got pride parades to attend. Let's be honest here. We're not exactly churning out material on our own that's pretty good. So we gotta borrow from other people, call it racist, and then chastise you for even playing it. And again, the other side of the argument is, hey, they do make some of their own content. Let's take a look at what they do make on their own when they're not taking other people's IP And when they're not calling Laura Croft a racist, they come out with thirsty sword lesbians. Love, swords, and adventure. Sounds good. Thirsty sword lesbians battle the Lady of Chains when her enforcers march down from the frosty north. They rocket through the stars to safeguard diplomats, ending a generations-old conflict. Even when swords are crossed, they seek peace with their opponents, sometimes connect more deeply than anyone expects. A sword duel can end in kissing, a witch can gain her power by helping others find love. An entire campaign can be built around wandering matchmakers flying from system to system. So this is another book about, weird progressives getting an excuse to make out with each other. This is what this is. Thirsty Sword Lesbians is a role-playing game for telling queer stories with friends if you love angsty disaster lesbians with swords. So we've written into this game, take Dungeons and Dragons, replace it with lesbians, and then instead of saying, hey, maybe after this event you get 13 black magic power or your armor is upgraded, you might just end up making out. So all we've done is make a sex game for you over at Evil Hat Productions. So you can play our sex RPG game, or you can, jaunt on over to a giant octopus-like creature, which is written by a racist guy, or you can play Tomb Raider, and, just know that you're a colonialist piece of shit if you play that one anyways. You see what I'm saying here? This is what happens when you've got nothing. This is what do you think that Massive Entertainment would be making if they didn't have Star Wars? Their next game would be Climate and Pride, it'd be called. You'd be a interracial lesbian couple in the Andes Mountains going to put up a new satellite that studies weather patterns, and they're the only ones who can do it because white straight men are extinct from the world, but for good reason, because they were the ones destroying it through climate change, and the only way that the human species can be saved is through this weather satellite. That's the game that Massive Entertainment would be coming up with if they didn't have Star Wars. That's what they would be doing. And now it's crossing over into board games. There's no escape for people. The people are not allowed to have an escape from the progressivism because they think that they're better and smarter than you. And this is pervasive in all things. You go to a city council meeting, it's going to be there. You go to a union meeting, it's going to be there. It's literally just them finding a way to shove communism into your face and forcing you to accept it. And, there's some jobs that I know people working for some companies, and they're just like, they have the worst, approval process for people. And, one of my friends works as an electrician, and they have unions electricians. They've got mechanics, they've got all these unions, and they ask you all these ridiculous questions about your gender and your sexuality, and you're just like, what's going on here? Why would I want to work for a company that does that? And then all these tradespeople, they say, it's not like that once you get in. It's not like that once you get in. People aren't saying this to you. You all make fun of it, but yeah, you put up with it. And that's what happens here is they just bank on the fact that you'll put up with it until it's too late. I mean, we saw this with the lockdowns. We saw this with the pharmaceutical industry, wink. They're just going to keep pushing things because they don't even have to pass laws about it. They just say, hey, you're going to do this and we can't force you to do it, but there'll be some consequences if you don't. Yeah, just do it. It's fine. And before you know it, we're going to be, Ukraining ourselves. We're going to be Australia-ing ourselves. We're going to be China-ing ourselves. All because people are just deal with it. It's not a big deal. Just look past it. Look past the Fallout show. Look past the Last of Us show. Look past the City Hall. Look past the Rainbow Roads. It's not hurting anybody. It doesn't hurt anybody until the weight of it is like 600 pounds on top of you and you can't breathe because in order to breathe, you have to condemn colonialism and finders keepers ethos that, of course, comes with grave robbing if you're Laura Croft, let's take a break. Let's check out some Patreon. Patreon.com/UOPod is where to go if you want to sign up and get the bonus podcast and bonus content. Now, once again, in our lives right now, we are developing hidden content that you're not allowed to know about. I'll tell you, it involves comedy, and I'm really enjoying it, but patreon.com/UOPod is where you're going to see it in full, because the projects we're doing are not in full right now. But you will see it in full if you sign up to patreon.com/UOPod. You can be a person that helps us become Joe Rogan. You can be a Raptors super fan who knows how he can afford the tickets front row to every single game since the beginning of the franchise. You could be an unauthorized person and suggest content to us and suggest topics to us that we will discuss on the air and with guests. You will see me wearing a Football Guy shirt. You'll see all the bonus podcasts that come out every week. You will also see stuff with Anomaly that I've done, podcasts. You will also see other comedy stuff that we've done with Uncle Hack of the Danger Cats, the most banned comedy trio probably in the world. And you will see more Anomaly stuff. There's also Streeters. We've got stuff in the works. A guy named Camille in the chat says, "Who are you? I'm a fan. I am Andrew." Go to patreon.com/UOPod. That is where you will find all of this other content. We hope to see you there. Coming back from the break now. Nobody can do it like this. I don't have I wish I had vitamins to sell you. But nobody can do it like me. I think there's a song there. If you follow baseball at all, Major League Baseball, there are now, not just in the Toronto Blue Jays, but all Canadian sports teams pretty much, but the Toronto Blue Jays started off their season a week ago at home with a land acknowledgement. And this is a weird thing that has become normal in Canada to have, is a land acknowledgement. And what are we acknowledging, you ask? Well, why don't I just tell you? Acknowledging that you're on stolen land, of course. How can I forget that? And this is from the Jays official website. So what happens is you go to a Blue Jays game, they tell you that you're on stolen land, and then they play the national anthem like it's normal and not weird. Jays Care recognizes that our organization is based on the Treaty of 13 Lands. Traditional territory of the Mississaugas and of the Credit. We also recognize that we are located on the traditional home of many other nations, including the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Chippewa, and the Wendat peoples. We are honored to work with and learn from communities all across this country, now referred to as Canada. We're just now referring it to as Canada. It was a country before, which is obviously a lie. We'll get to that. Therefore, we want to acknowledge all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples whose original and treaty territories we stand upon across Turtle Island, aka North America. We see the unifying power of baseball and sport every day, which is why Jays Care commits to standing with Indigenous peoples, listening with a good mind, and supporting communities of their journeys towards a stronger future for generations to come. That's very interesting, and we'll get to what that actually means in a second. But so that's the one that's from at least 2022, and that they've got all these different things that they're going to adhere to: long-term development, collaborating and highlighting Indigenous athletes, offering anti-racism awareness training programs, of course. But this is the one that they had when they first started it in 2021, and it's a trip. It's hard to read. This one should be easier there. If you can't read it, we're going to read it for you. We would like to acknowledge that the Rogers Center, which is where the Blue Jays play, is located within land that is ancestral territories of the Anishinaabe, the Wendat, and currently the Haudenosaunee people. So basically they're saying the Rogers Center, the stadium in the middle of Toronto, by the lake, downtown Toronto, which has been there since the 70s, or possibly early 80s, It's actually not on Canadian land. It's currently on a different tribe's land. You are on their land. And since 1805, the treaty lands of the Mississauga have the credit. As we reach back to those first Torontonians, how can it be Toronto? If we remember our Mother Earth, the Earth, not I, Mother Earth, the band. We remember them too. Though the seven grandfather teachings, through the seven grandfather teachings, wisdom, bravery, respect, honesty, truth, humility, and love. The stories of each of these nations endure and continue to guide our thoughts and actions on this land. And as we acknowledge our Mother the Earth, we acknowledge the medicine wheel and its teachings. We recognize the four directions, north, south, east, and west, and the four seasons, spring, summer, fall, and winter. It is these four seasons that represent the circle of life. So the Toronto Blue Jays of the Major League Baseball organization decided that we were going to get Philip Cote, a young spiritual elder, to just tell us what we need to do. Please tell us. And it's that you're on stolen land, and it's actually still land belonging to other people. Now, this doesn't make any sense, of course. And this whole claim of the Anishinaabe these are things made up by activists to get you to give them stuff. And I have many Native friends. One of them was here yesterday. And out of the couple dozen of Native people that I've known well in my life, none of them have, supported this idea of, free stuff, of a reparations of any kind. I don't know any of them who actually have taken the government up on their offer of free schooling and free room and board. But, I shouldn't say none of them, but most of them aren't even aware. I know a couple of them are, but most of them aren't even aware of this activism that goes on in their name. And this whole idea that the Land Acknowledgment is based on for a Major League Baseball team, which I know they're only doing to shut people up and say, hey, look how respectful we are. But it's based on nothing, really. So the Anishinaabe is something that was made up at some point to describe almost every tribe, and they've got 8 here listed on the photo on Wikipedia, of every tribe around the Great Lakes. Now, all it takes for you is to play like a single video game, read just a couple things, a couple movies, and even 12-year-old me would have some questions about this. Did these tribes not in these regions, were they not at war at some point? The answer is yes. My ancestors were at war with some of them at one point. On the other side of the U.S.-Canada border, wars. In Canada, wars. Some were siding with the British. Some were siding with the French. And then all of a sudden, for political purposes, we're saying, no, every tribe going from Quebec to New York to, Michigan, Wisconsin, as a car drives by, to Alberta, to Manitoba, to what is this going to be here? Minnesota. They're all part of the same thing. They're all part of the same thing, and you better respect it all because you're on our land. So this is a political thing that has been put together in order to say, you're on stolen land. It's a very progressive thing. And almost no Native people believe in this. It is activists taking control of this. Now, there's a video I want to show you guys about when I went to Toronto City Hall, and they have all these Indigenous flags up there hanging from City Hall. And I talked to one guy, and he actually said he doesn't like Canada. And it was very honest and very transparent, but he was able to name every single flag that was up there. This guy knew his stuff, and he doesn't like the country. So he's not sitting there just being like, this is all one thing. He is saying that you're on stolen land, but he seemed to know his stuff. What do we have here? We have the eagle flag. I believe that's the old Philadelphia Eagle symbol. After that is the official flag of Purple Woods, where you get your maple syrup from. Afterwards, we have the infinity symbol, which was really just a typo that somebody had printed as a flag. It was a filler, and they accidentally sent it to the printers. Then after that, we have the 4 Eskimos fighting in a circle, which represents the Eskimo Fighting League, also known as EFC. Can we ask you a question? What do these flags mean?
Mississauga is a new credit. That's the Iroquois Confederacy, all nations.
Okay.
That one is territories, and That one's the new one, none of it.
This is the guy we should have been asking the whole time. Anything else you want to say?
Canada Day.
Edgy. Okay. So that guy basically said F Canada Day. He said, we are on stolen land. We are on at City Hall there in Toronto. You are in a place that we never gave up. And it's basically a person talking about how they believe that they are at war with the government of Canada. And if that's your belief, then that's your belief. But that is hostile. And to sit there in, a stadium filled with 30,000 people and say that we acknowledge that this land was never given up and it was stolen and it actually belongs to, 8 different tribes, which this guy can impressively name all the flags for, even though they're not all tribes. I know that. And you are saying that the land is stolen and this land was never given up, and in fact in the 2021 version it's actually still belonging to other people. You're basically just saying that these other people are actually our rulers and they don't agree with anything, that they don't agree with the formation of this country. They don't agree with the government existing and having rules over this land, and we would like to take it back from you. That is like a declaration of war, and it's very weird that professional sports teams are just like, okay, I guess we stole this land from you, and you still own it. But again, with the video game companies, with the board game companies, we're just going to call everything that we're currently doing racist, and we're wrong, and everybody else is right. But, we got to make our money, guys. We got to, it's almost like you steal somebody's house, and you're just like, yeah, I stole your house. I kicked you out. I beat up your kids. I opened a store in this house. You know how when people open a little shop inside of a home? And they're just like, yeah, I did all that, and it was mean of me, but buy my candy canes. You can buy the shortbread cookies at least. I'll tell you that I stole your house, but it's fine. As long as we're making a little bit of profit here, I'm making the profit, you get to say I stole the house, it's fine. It's this weird ecosystem between left-wing government and activist class of people where it's like, you call yourselves pieces of garbage so that we can then siphon money from you and say, you owe us this money, you owe us anti-racism programs, you owe us DEI services and DEI offices across every school in the country. You owe us this money. You give us this money and say that you're garbage and we'll shut up. And as long as you're condemning yourselves as racists, you can still continue to make money. So you've got like bad actors on both sides. One's like saying, I hate you, give me money though, and it's a little bit better. And other places saying, hey, yeah, it's okay that you hate me. We hate ourselves, but we still need to make money. It's this weird ecosystem that's been created in the last 10 years for people who really want to be able to just get away with what they're saying is morally corrupt and just make money off of it. The last thing we'll talk about here is Megan Rapinoe. If you didn't see this about a week or so ago, she had a problem with a women's soccer player who liked some stuff on Facebook or on Instagram, I think. Her name is Corbin Albert is the young lady's name. We'll see her here. She's a young soccer star. She's actually using Megan Rapinoe, the crazy activist lady who retired from soccer. She's actually using her number on the national team. So that triggered Megan Rapinoe when she posted a video of this. Or she shared it. Yeah, reposted this video of a detransitioner who was at a Christian event.
My name is Quinn.
Huge pop for Quinn. Just a giant pop for Quinn at this event.
I had seizures in the womb. I was diagnosed with epilepsy, Ehlers-Danlos, and an intellectual disability. I started watching pornography at 12, and I witnessed my mom being beaten. That experience resulted in violent thoughts, rage, fighting, coldness, stealing, vandalism, drugs, and being in a gang. Although I got saved at a Christian school, by the age of 15, I was attracted to men and women, and I actually stopped feeling like a guy. Although I was ashamed of my feelings, God revealed to me that I was made in His image. I ignored God's love, and abused alcohol and abused cocaine. but God kept me safe. By 24, I fully embraced the idea of same-sex attraction and acted upon those desires. Around the same time, my mom was hospitalized due to her alcoholism. She passed away soon after, and as I saw her monitor flatline, my life came crashing down. I knew I needed to get help, so I went to counseling, but never revealed the shame I was battling with feeling transgender. A few months later, I started taking hormones. However, in the midst of this time, God led me to ACC through a new friend. I was introduced to Jesus, and the Holy Spirit started consuming me, and I actually felt his tangible presence.
Okay, so this is what the video is that she shared. It is a person. You heard all the problems he had. He was on hormones to change his gender, and he went with religion instead. Detransitioned. This is something that the girl shared. Another thing she liked on social media was this meme that said God taking time off performing miracles to make sure Megan Rapinoe sprains her ankle in her final game. She liked this post, liked the meme, and Megan Rapinoe was enraged. They started calling her, anti-trans and everything, and Megan Rapinoe had this whole diatribe that she went on Instagram because she saw this. And she would later say that this was about the young girl, Corbin Albert. She said, for people who want to hide behind, quote, my beliefs, I would just ask one question. Are you making any type of space safer, more inclusive, more whole? Any semblance of better, bringing the best out of anyone? Because if you aren't, all you believe in is hate. And kids are literally killing themselves, of course, she's got to say that, because of this hate. Wake the F up. For all my trans homie enduring this horrific treatment day in and day out, I see you and I hear you. So this girl reposting something that was about a person no longer wanting to be gender transitioned and no longer wanting to take hormones, they're posting that they're taking that as hate. It's transphobia. You're causing people to kill yourself, which is absolutely insane. And this is how manipulation happens. With an ideology, these people, and they've been doing it for obviously the last few years, you have to agree with my ideology or else you're causing people to kill themselves. And it's holding your feelings hostage. Imagine somebody did that in a relationship. It would be the same thing. If you don't want to go out with me, I'm going to hurt myself. You're using your entire bodily autonomy as a weapon against a person. If you don't believe in my transgenderism, if you don't support it, if you don't support Megan Rapinoe's, wild political beliefs, which they are, then you're killing people. Therefore, you cannot speak. Do not speak about your religion. Do not speak about gender detransitioning because you're killing people. And no matter what you say, no matter how you presented that, which I thought was pretty fair, a pretty, heart-wrenching video where a person's saying, I had all these problems growing up. I thought I was gay. I thought I was trans, but I'm religious now. I don't believe that. Whether you think that's right or wrong, that's a person telling their story, and we're supposed to be all about my truth, my story, my experience, blah, 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 which we actually read part of in the first topic there. But now we have Corbin Albert, who posted on Instagram an apology. She said, I want to sincerely apologize for my actions, liking and sharing posts that are offensive. I mean, you could tell me, I guess, that her liking this post making fun of Megan Rapinoe is mean. Of course that's mean. And I wouldn't advise it as a person who's about to play on U.S. soccer to like a meme about the person who was just on U.S. soccer. But to say that the rest of it is offensive, sharing posts that are offensive, that's really weird. Insensitive and hurtful. Was immature and disrespectful, which was never my intent. I'm really disappointed in myself, and I'm deeply sorry for the hurt that I've caused to teammates, other players, fans, friends, and anyone who's offended. I truly believe that everyone should feel safe and respected everywhere in all playing fields. I know my actions have not lived up to that, and for that I sincerely apologize. It's an honor and privilege to get to play this sport on the world stage, and I promise to do better. The problem with that, obviously, is do you think that they would do the same thing for you? They would not. If Megan Rapinoe showed a person who said, I used to be in the closet and now I believe I'm a man. I lived my life as a woman, but now I'm a man, and you can't tell me I'm not a man. I'm a pregnant man. Do you think if somebody said, that's weird, Megan, do you think she would apologize and take it down and say she's going to do better? No. She's not going to. So I don't know where this girl, this poor young girl, I think she's 20 years old, Corbin Albert. I don't know why she thinks this was a good idea. Public relations person at the soccer team probably told her this is a good idea. It's not. Now they know. You know, maybe you want to be this guy like this guy from NASCAR who just wanted to get back into it and you're willing to sell your soul no matter what. But all you did was share somebody else's words about not wanting to be transgender anymore. And then they say you're killing us because you shared this video. And you're like, I apologize. I don't want to have anyone kill themselves, obviously. But they're not going to... Megan Rapinoe is not going to do that for you. She's not going to do any favors for you. She's not going to share anything that says, hey, I know that Christian people just mean well, and therefore it's fine that we all share our views. She's going to say, and she does say, no, your views are hateful and evil, and you're causing people to kill themselves. Get rid of them. My feelings are what are most important, and my beliefs are correct. Maybe it's because she's a tougher chick than this Corbin girl, or maybe it's because she's older and more mature and knows she can bully her, but they're not going to do that for you. They think that you're wrong, and they have no problem telling you that you're wrong. And this is why people inject it into video games and board games and schools, because they need you to know that you're wrong and that you're worse than them. That's the whole meaning behind it. Land acknowledgement. You are a bad person. You're on my land. Get off of it. You can make money if you want, but get off of it mainly, or give me money. You can play this game if you acknowledge that you're a bad person. It's all about telling you how they're a better person than you. I can't condone an apology like this. I can't condone, just resharing a video. I can also not condone her liking the meme. I think that was stupid of her. What are you doing, Corbin? But to act like all of a sudden that this is not an equal playing field. If she was Muslim, would they say take down that Muslim stuff? If she was Jewish, would they say take down your Israeli flag? I mean, they might nowadays. But Megan Rapinoe is not here for you. She's here to tell you that you're a piece of crap and that you have to repent for her religion, for her gender religion, for the climate religion, for all these new religions. Where they pretend it's not a religion and then they say you can't talk about it or else you're killing us. They're not here for you. They're not here for fairness. They're not here for equality. If we circle back before we get going to the massive entertainment page, none of their commitments are for making sure men don't feel attacked. None of them said, hey, maybe things are a little tough on guys. Their commitments are, you're oppressing us. We can go back to the very top. I don't have to deal with your emotional labor. You got to deal with mine. But you got to renounce all forms of oppression. And I've done it so I can make a Star Wars game. I've kneeled at the altar of climate change and gender reform. So I get to make the Star Wars game. Let's go through some chats before we go. I'm leaning in. Camille says, I love USA. Congratulations on 41.6 subscribe. 41,000. Oh, thank you. I thought that said 41.6 subscribers, and it's like, oh, that hurts my feelings a little bit. I don't know where that is. Maybe Rumble. We love you, Rumble. Shout out Rumble. Shout out YouTube. X as well, of course. I think we're live on Rumble and have been live. Shout out Patreon subscribers. Shout out Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. If you're listening or watching on one of those, please don't forget to give us a positive review. We love it on there. We love Spotify, of course. And thank you for watching on YouTube and everything else. If you're not subscribed, then go ahead and subscribe to the Patreon. You'll get bonus content and a bonus podcast there every single week. And if you are not subscribed on the YouTube channel, uopod.com, unauthorizedopinions.com, we love you there too. We've also got somebody leaving a promotional thing on Twitch, which is great. We've got Dick Dickstein here. He says, LOL at all of them being such robots repeating the nonsense for a religion they don't even know they're part of. Thank you. I'm guessing Dick means Robert. Robert Dickstein we're going to go with. Thank you, Robert. Don't forget to check out the Patreon page if you want to support this podcast. We appreciate all of you guys. We will continue to mix it up. with guests and stuff, and midweek podcasts, and comedians, and video game stuff. The video game stuff is very important right now, and if you don't think it is, then just, check out some of these sources I'm citing today. They're really trying to hammer it in, and it's because they don't face enough opposition. In the political world, they do. In stuff like media, they don't necessarily. We'll see you guys next time. Look out for the bonus stuff. Look out for the podcasts on Patreon. We've got new stuff coming. As always, events are coming. We'll see you next time. Equality means to me equal amounts of chocolate and vanilla chocolates in a pot of gold.